with how things are going with the Paper Mario series from Sticker Star to now. That you're getting only coins and not much else. Though, if anything, Color Splash gave you the hammer extension to give you more color, but
Yeah,
iffy.
but I mean, to me, that was kind of stupid. To me, I mean, it's. But then again, like I said, I'm an old school Paper Mario fan, so the first two games are like I like that style of RPG versus what it's become, which is more casualized. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about Paper Mario in this podcast. We're talking about some other fucked up shit that happened this. Well, not that Paper Mario's fucked up. Some stuff that's happened this week that came out this week that we were going to talk about Wednesday, but shit happened. Because you
Yeah,
know.
I wasn't feeling well. I'm gonna have to say that.
Well, I'm not going to throw it off on anybody because you never know. But basically, we're going to be talking about the Stadia news. But we got two sets of Ubisoft. We got two sets of Ubisoft news. We got some games that they announced, and then we got some really fucked up shit that Ubisoft announced. Where I'm like, God damn, that's fucked up. We got some Netflix news, and then we'll get to our unpopular opinion segments. I'll give my first impressions of Harvest Moon, or sorry, Circle of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, which is basically it's Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town, but the studio that made that game left the aegis of Natsume, or their contract was up, so basically they created their own brand, but it's basically the same damn games you were playing, except they're called Circle of Seasons instead of Harvest Moon. And you can tell because the shit that Natsume's been coming out with is really, really bad. It's really low quality. But that's neither here nor there. Let's have everyone introduce themselves, starting with the lady first, then the gentleman, and then we'll dive into these topics. Ladies first.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the BS Busters and the League podcast. I'm Joey Youngstar, and oh great, what next?
Yeah, it's been.
Ubisoft.
It's this has been some fucked up shit. Kenoshi.
This is Koshi Abominito, here to say I don't care about next gen, but I'll save that for unpopular opinions.
Okay, this is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. To get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at Mr. Red Fox bsbusters@gmail.com or at Matthew Westlake Mr. 91, or there's a link in the Discord in the description. So you can do all that stuff to get in touch with the channel. But with that being said, there's only one thing that we can say with all of this, and that is
God beep it, Ubisoft.
Ubisoft done fucked up. But before we get to how Ubisoft fucked up, we got to talk about their quote-unquote good announcements. So basically, their Ubisoft Forward announcements. So I guess we'll get to the games first. So basically, here's the recap of what they announced at Ubisoft Forward. God damn, I'm on their page.
Hopefully, rabbits are not included.
Yeah, I think they dropped rabbits once people figured out those fuckers were annoying as hell. Yeah, I don't like the rabbits. I know some people are gonna get mad.
I was about to say, welcome to the party.
So basically, Ubisoft Forward recap. So the first thing is there's there's AI teammates coming to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. If you give a shit about that game, there you go.
Shooter over here.
I mean, I like old school Ghost. I mean, because basically Ghost Recon is kind of like the way it plays now is kind of like a next gen spiritual successor to Rainbow Six. And I like Rainbow Six, but like I don't like the always online like
Aspect.
multiplayer aspect that Ghost Recon has now. Like, the way I liked Rainbow Six back in the day was during the 6th gen, where you would buy your game, you would come up with ways to accomplish your mission, get the intel, do what you had to do, get the fuck out. I like old school like that. Like, I don't like dealing with other people when I'm playing this type of game, because it's a strategy game, and I don't like multiplayer strategy games like where other people are on my team. I don't like that. Because I'm a control freak when it comes to strategy games, and I like to control every aspect of what's going on. Next, we have Watch Dogs Legion. I mean,
whatever.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Every Ubisoft game basically has aspects of other Ubisoft games. So Watch Dogs Legion kind of has shit from Far Cry in it, which also has shit from Assassin's Creed, and they all share each other's DNA. So it's like, if you like Far Cry, if you like Far Cry, if you like Assassin's Creed, then you're gonna like these games. I don't like Far Cry. Like, I got Far Cry 5 for free when I bought, what was it? I bought my my CPU for my computer. Like, I got like 4 games, and one of them was a Far Cry. I forget which one. And like, I've played, like, I try to get into Far Cry. I can play a Far Cry game for about 30 minutes, like the new Far Cry games, for about 30 minutes before I lose interest. My favorite Far Cries are the old school ones from back in the day, like Far Cry 2, Far Cry Primal, stuff like that. Like, I like those Far Cry games. I don't like the new Far Cry games. There's too much shit going on. Like, I like just going around just shooting shit. I don't want to be, there's something intimidating to me about opening up a map and there being like 80 icons of shit you can do. And I know that sounds kind of bad, but I don't like it. And if you have like 6 or 7 icons that gradually open up more shit as you complete them, okay. But 80 at one time, that's too much. It's overwhelming. So Watch Dogs Legion has been delayed to October 29th. So they said because they could add more realism, but I don't know how realistic it is to have this old lady who also apparently was a former MI6 agent going around tasing motherfuckers in the face. But whatever. Brawlhalla Mobile. So for those of you who don't know,
oh no, oh.
So Brawlhalla is basically a how can I put this?
Game that is now in mobile.
Think of it as a Smash Brothers Lite. Yeah, it's a Smash Brothers Lite. It's a Smash Brothers Lite, but instead of using Nintendo characters, it uses indie guest characters or cartoon characters. So I think this month they have Ben 10 in there. So I mean, it's kind of interesting. I think a few months ago they had Guacamelee from Juan from Guacamelee as a character.
I mean, it's nice that there's people experimenting with the Smash Brothers fighting system.
Yeah, without being dicks like PlayStation All-Stars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to get mad at people for taking that formula. Because here's the thing. How do you know you're successful? When people start copying you. So, Smash Brothers is successful. Obviously, people are going to copy it. I would rather have good copies that move the formula forward or do something different than just some bullshit like PlayStation All-Stars. So, Brawlhalla, I've played a little bit of it. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the other Smash Brothers knockoff, but it's all indie characters. Like, I'm looking forward to that. Because I like Smash Brothers, but I don't like how Smash Brothers is right now. So, it is what it is. Apparently, there's also a new Might and Magic game coming, I guess.
I was about to say, D&D hopeful?
Well, Might and Magic isn't really, it's not really like D&D. Might and Magic is kind of like, how can I put it? Might and Magic is kind of like King's Bounty. or I should say King's Bounty is kind of like Might and Magic. The problem is that this is a mobile game, so it's going to have microtransactions and shit. So, yeah, it's a mobile game, so I don't give a fuck about it. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, another free mobile game. And it's a free-to-play tactical RPG with a massive roster of 70 characters spanning the Tom Clancy universe of games. And it's coming to the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store.
So we get 70 variations of one guy.
I'll be honest with you. I like the Tom Clancy universe of games, like Rainbow Six and Splinter Cell and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, and Ghost Recon, to be honest with you, if they made this into like a base game for like $30, I'd buy it. But I'm not paying for microtransactions and shit. I don't care about that. They're bringing back Rainbow Six, or at least there was a message from the team that made Rainbow Six Siege. So there you go. Hyperscape, which is their entry into the
Fortnite
squad-based shooter, mobile multiplayer thing. You know, basically, they're tossing their hat into the Overwatch, Fortnite, PUBG arena with this shit right here. Looks interesting, but believe it or not, the little trailer they showed, like detailing the world, looked more interesting. Like, if it was a single-player game, I'd probably be more interested in it. The fact that it's an online multiplayer game, I'm kind of like not really giving a fuck about it. Next, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, it's another Assassin's Creed game in the new Assassin's Creed, but with RPG elements and a lot of miscellaneous side quests that are just kind of just bullshit. What?
Yeah, filler.
Yeah, that are filler. Yeah.
It's like too much cereal in your Lucky Charms. Not enough Lucky Charms and too much.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's kind of like if you were watching a movie, like when you're a kid and you didn't have access to the internet or pornography, and so you'd watch a movie that had like maybe a little bit of nudity in it, but it's like you got to get through a whole bunch of people talking and doing boring shit before you got to the nudity. That's basically what it is. It's like, well, I'm gonna have to listen to these people talk about some shit I don't care about. So,
unless you're a lore enthusiast, this is gonna bore you to sleep.
Well, the thing is that Assassin's Creed, to me, the ones that are like RPGs, their side quests are unfulfilling. Like, you might get a slightly better weapon or a piece of armor that's slightly better than what you think. Like, the side quests aren't meaningful. You aren't getting anything out of it. You aren't getting like a companion or like an animal or like something that's like gonna make you unique. It's just like, oh, this is just something to pad out the time. So they're inconsequential. And if you're gonna have side quests and they're inconsequential, I don't care. And Philippe Bergeron, oh man, that dude, a little bit dirty. But we'll get to that in the second part of this, in the other little bit of Ubisoft news.
We're pushing that to the side.
Yeah. And finally, Far Cry 6. And the big thing about this is that it's played that the main villain, or at least thus far the main villain, is portrayed by Giancarlo Esposito, who basically plays a villain in everything these days, because for reasons, I don't know. And there you go. You play a revolutionary guy trying to basically topple this dictator of this fictitious island nation, and that's the game. Like it's a Far Cry game, so you know you're going to be going to outposts, knocking people, killing people, trying to trying to take out everybody who you can, so that they can't hit an alarm and have more motherfuckers run up on you. You know, if you've played a Far Cry game over the last 2-3 iterations, you know what to expect here. I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, you everybody knows what this shit's gonna be.
It's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. So with that being said, I guess we can move on to the other Far Cry news, which is
Trash.
They fucked up. That's all I can say.
What did they do?
What did they do? I'm glad you asked. Well, actually, I'm not glad you asked because I'm about to say some shit that's gonna possibly make everyone upset. But
Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, give him fair warning here.
Ubisoft harassment perpetrator quotes. So it's pretty fucked up. So I'll
Oh, so they did somebody dirty, literally.
Oh, this is some fucked up shit. So this has been translated from the French, so it's not going to.
So somebody was riding dirty.
Once you read what these allegations allege from multiple sources in this organization, you're going to be like, if even 25% of this is true, Ubisoft has a problem. So here we go. So this new article from Liberation goes deeper into the role played by Sergei Haskowit in the toxic environment at Ubisoft, and the limited effect, or in quotations, or the negative effect the actions taken so far have had. Thread with the translated quotes from the article. Now I'm not gonna translate this, but basically, on the current mood at Ubisoft. Now these are little like things from the person who did the undercover talking to people, you know, with anonymity, all that type of stuff. So since your revelations, the situation here has gotten worse. Leaders are convinced this is detrimental to their freedom. They call it a witch hunt. On top of everything, as women, we became a threat. This is far from nice to go, though. This is far from nice to go through. So basically, at the time in 2018, Ubisoft had this tool so people could anonymously report acts of corruption. At the time,
like the glass window one, I'm reviewing thing.
Well, no. At the time, they wanted it for like insider training, people stealing shit. But apparently, they also wanted to add harassment and discrimination to it. But HR explicitly refused to add that. First red flag.
Oof.
Yeah. So more than 100 reports were filed. They mentioned environmental harassment. That was a catch-all term because they would not add specific things like sexual harassment, discrimination. So basically, women, when they said like, you know, describe the environmental harassment, women said that women alone in a team of men, that the men were displaying pornographic pictures or watching pornographic movies while the woman was there.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about a lot of companies is they create their own HR department. I think there was a point in time where HR was sort of you know, separated from the company, as in it was its own entity.
Well,
outside the company.
I mean, they weren't outside, but they were under, like, HR's whole point was to make sure everyone was playing by the rules so there wouldn't be issues like this. Ubisoft's HR is shit. But we'll get to that at the end of this thing, because you have to hear all the fucked up shit that went on. So basically...
I was about to say, there's a whole list of it.
Yeah, I'm getting through it. Half the cases had already been reported previously to the HR department. This shows that the HR team is the silencing arm of Ubisoft. This is a quote from a member of the HR team. So basically, the HR team, instead of making sure that shit got taken care of so that it wouldn't get worse, they basically blamed the victims and said, you shut the fuck up, and buried reports so that it wouldn't look bad. And it got worse.
Yeah.
So about...
That reckoning you're talking about is coming.
So about Sergei Haskowit, from a member of the HR team, he is even valued for his toxicity, his misogyny, his homophobia, and his management style about crushing others, for his libidinous behavior. And today, some are trying to minimize this, saying he is a creative person. We knew about Sergei. He was present when Tommy Francois tried to forcefully kiss a colleague, and that made him laugh. So Sergei reportedly drugged employees without their knowledge, including members of the top management, by sharing space cakes. Those are pot brownies. They're edible. They're edibles. They're they're edible sweets.
Excuse
laced
me a
with
minute, because that
drugs.
sounded unpleasant.
Oh yeah. So he was basically he was Bill Cosbying people. Because here's the thing, okay? Yes, like marijuana, typically speaking, doesn't kill people when they ingest it or smoke it. But there are some people who that shit they're allergic to it and they could die. And if this fucker had killed someone, that's murder. I mean, I don't know what the laws are in France or Canada, wherever this is, but here in America, you know, if you drug someone without their permission, that's a crime. If they die because you drugged them, that's another crime. But whatever. So a report on one of his outbursts about a VP that demanded a lunch meeting with him. Sergei said this bad fuck was hindering his creativity, and that someone should open her mind by fucking her from behind and share her around until she gets it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some Mel Gibson shit right there. This is...
Tell me it doesn't get worse from there.
Oh, it gets worse. This is...
Oh.
Look, this is Ubisoft. Yeah, Ubisoft. So during a work dinner, he forces his creative directors to drink until they're sick, then asks the waitress to bring all the bottles of the restaurant on the company's dime, of course, and shouts, "You're a faggot if you don't drink."
Wow.
So for those of you who think I'm just being full of shit,
Okay.
I'm screen sharing.
I was about to say, please tell me the train stops.
No, it gets worse. So he reportedly blocked a woman in the elevator and put himself against her, making groaning sounds and looking her in the eyes. Some of his collaborators in the editorial team reportedly did the same, to the point it became a signature move. So basically, he was simulating rape on women. Simulated humping and groaning. And it just became normalized because no one ever did their job in HR. So in 2015, Ubisoft adopted a code of conduct. The article quotes someone who saw its creation process and missed opportunity for positive washing. As the team tries to be ambitious in covering unacceptable behaviors, the HR management tuned down the language. For example, it was excluded for the sexual harassment example to mention the case where a manager would be a harasser. It was deemed too pessimistic and the employees might think it could happen. Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck. So the next one is just...
God.
Yeah, describing the toxic culture. A fresh from school new employee. It was so bad I focused on my own survival. I feel bad to have belonged to this toxic team, where in meetings we would give nicknames to colleagues, calling an eccentric game designer, quote-unquote, the moron. Basically, as soon as something was deviating from the established tone, the stance was to pretend the person was anormal. One of the persons that came forward was described in the team as a slut, a crazy woman that we should ignore.
Really?
Well, I mean, that's a typical thing for chauvinists, for misogynists and chauvinists, is when, especially a woman, like if a man says something they don't like, you're a faggot. And if a woman says something they don't like, she's either crazy or a slut. Like,
I know.
Basically, if someone...
Hearing more of this is making me feel like I'm glad I'm not with Ubisoft.
If someone's first thing when they don't like something you say is to start attacking your character, like attack a woman for her sexuality, which is calling her a slut. Attack a man for his sexual orientation, which is calling him a faggot. Or attack someone about their intelligence, you're a moron. This is already fucked up. But this has been going on for years. So basically, the people in charge of handling employees and their career paths in the company are not trained to handle harassment. They don't know how to listen to victims. Worse than that, they were never told to consider people's well-being before the business. Never, never, never. The head of HR is reported as saying, Yves Guillemot is okay with the toxic management as long as these managers' results exceeds their toxicity level. They give
exceeds the toxicity level.
Yeah, so they give a second, third, or more chances to its key employees, the ones that prove themselves. So basically, you can get away with anything as long as you make a lot of money at Ubisoft. I mean, you could apparently rape someone or simulate rape someone, call people sluts, whores, use the company's money to get people drunk, drug people. But hey, as long as that Assassin's Creed makes a lot of money, you're good. The head of HR is reported. Okay, I already said that. So, article concludes that if Ubisoft has officially taken action on only 3 persons, there are 20 odd people being investigated by external auditors. These should lead to terminations, as you don't start them unless you have a solid case. Now I'm going to go get some fresh air. So, basically, so here's what it says. According to Eurogamer's own translation, the piece claims the head of HR at Ubisoft Montreal has threatened to quit with half his team unless Ubisoft boss Yves Guillemot makes a public statement absolving them of any responsibility for the toxic culture there. Earlier in July, Splinter Cell and Far Cry creative director Maxime Belland resigned from his post at Ubisoft amid claims of misconduct. Ubisoft reportedly put 2 senior executives and several other employees on leave after multiple allegations of sexual assault and harassment were made against a number of Ubisoft employees, including Vice Presidents Tommy Francois and marketer Adrian Escoblans Gibinigi. I murdered that dude's name. I'm sorry.
Excuse us for that name because that's hard to pronounce.
Benigi. I mean, he sounds like he might be Liberian because I know that France at one time annexed Liberia. And his last name looks like it may be Liberian, but I can't speak Liberian. So, Assassin's Creed Valhalla creative director Ashraf Ismail also recently stepped down after allegations surrounding his personal life were posted on Twitter. In a public statement issued in June, Ubisoft said it was truly sorry and confirmed it had started launching investigations into the allegations with the support of specialized external consultants. Guillemot had a detailed set of changes to its internal processes and top editorial board. We have a significant work to do to improve the ways in which we operate and collaborate, and I am personally committed to ensuring we make these fundamental changes. They need to be profound, and we need to implement them quickly at all levels of the organization. These fresh allegations come ahead of this Sunday's Ubisoft Forward event, at which the companies expect to show off Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, and Far Cry 6. So, that's enough of that. I mean...
Can I throw up now?
Well, not on air. Please don't throw up on air. Kenoshi, thoughts?
Sounds like they let things get too far out of hand. And how long has this been happening?
Well, I mean, the farthest back that the article traces is 2015, but it's probably been going back farther than that. Because here's the thing. Whenever you have people come forward with these types of allegations, there's probably if one person comes forward, there's probably like 5 who the shit happened to that didn't say shit. So you really got to say like 500 people probably. With 100 complaints, probably 500 people have probably been harassed. I mean, this is a culture, and I mean, Yves Guillemot shares part of the blame because there's no way that this shit wasn't known.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that shit with Harvey Weinstein. There's no way other people didn't know about this shit.
There are people that were men and women that were complicit in
Yeah.
and Harvey Weinstein's behavior. Like they, in ways, encouraged it. So.
Well, the thing is, if you see someone doing some...
even runs HR needs to be effing fired.
Well, I mean, if you see someone doing some fucked up shit like that and you don't say anything, and they see them doing it, and you don't say anything, they're going to think, well, they didn't say anything, so they must be okay with it. And so you're giving them...
permission.
In their mind, you're giving them permission. You might not be the person who's helping them do it. You might not even be physically putting their victim in the position to have that done. But the fact that you didn't say anything, you share some culpability to a lesser degree for what that person did. Ubisoft, this is a failure on multiple levels, and it's seriously fucked up. That's all I can say. This is some fucked up shit right here, and I mean, I don't know what to say. Oh, well, I have one thing I can say. I won't be buying a Ubisoft game for the foreseeable future. And I was looking forward to Watch Dogs Legion. I'm not going to lie. It looked, the premise behind it looked cool, but I was like, nope.
Yeah, he showed me how the sausage is made, so I have no interest in buying it.
No, this isn't even the sausage is made. This is like someone at the sausage factory is raping people. I'm like, I don't want to, no. The sausage may be delicious, but goddamn, no.
Some things are just TMI. And you wonder why I almost hurled, because hearing all that and nothing happened, or it was encouraged, that was just basically sickening.
Well, I mean, HR buried the reports so that they wouldn't go higher up. So everyone in the HR department needs to be fired.
Well,
yeah, they need to be fired. HR needs to be fired, and those people who did that shit, they gotta go. I'm sorry, they gotta go. And I know some people are gonna say, but they're the creativity. Really? Every fucking Ubisoft game is the same fucking game. Far Cry is the same as Assassin's Creed now, which is the same as Watch Dogs. They're all the fucking same game. You're in an open world. You go someplace to unlock some shit. You walk up a tower. It unlocks more activities. It's the same shit over and over again. So don't tell me they're all that creative at Ubisoft. They aren't. They find a formula, they run it to the ground, and then they do something else.
Yeah, it's the Tony Hawk phenomenon.
Yeah. So don't tell me, oh, well, these people are so creative. Because let's keep it real. Most of Ubisoft's games are okay. Like, I haven't played a game from Ubisoft that made me say, wow. The only game I played from Ubisoft recently that made me say, wow, this is really creative was the Kingdom Battle game with the rabbits.
Yeah. And
the only reason that game was interesting was because basically it was a tactics game. It was like XCOM, except with Mario characters, which is just really fucking interesting. But most of Ubisoft's games are just meh at best to me. So, yeah. So anyone have anything else they want to say before we move on to the next topic?
Ubisoft should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah. Some people need to go to the woodshed for this one. So there we go. So I guess we can go to the next thing. Stadia. Google Stadia. Google Stadia. Stadia.
Sorry, that's the best thing I ever needed to hear. Stadia having another F up, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what? Microsoft kicked their ass for it too.
So here's the Google Stadia. So here's the Google Stadia news for those of you who, we're all a quiver about this. So Stadia's getting some new games. I mean, games that you can get on other shit, but never mind that. Okay? They're getting Hitman, Sekiro, Outriders, and they're getting Orcs Must Die 3. Sorry, Outcasters, which is an 8-player competitive shooter from Splash Damage. That studio sounds familiar to me, but I forget what other games they made. And Orcs Must Die 3, a tower defense game that will take Orc Slaying Mayhem to a previously unimaginable height. Both of which will be exclusive to Stadia. Well, I mean, I was looking forward to Orcs Must Die, but if it's going to be exclusive to Stadia, then I won't be playing it, I guess. Yeah. So other upcoming games announced will also be Super Bomberman R Online, which will be a timed exclusive on Stadia, and Dead by Daylight, which will come to the platform with 2 new exclusive features, Crowd Choice and Crowd Play. Crowd Choice will enable fans to vote on whether YouTube streamers will play as a survivor or a killer and which character they'll become. And while Crowd Play will enable influencers to invite members of their community to join in on the action. Super Bomberman R will also include Crowd Play at launch, along with increased customization options including characters, costumes, accessories, and even bomb skins. The Hitman trilogy is also on the way, with the first 2 parts set to launch on September 1st, and Hitman 3 expected in January 2021, and Serious Sam 4 will launch on Stadia as well as other storefronts in August. Hello Neighbor will release on September 20th. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is coming sometime in the fall. Isn't that game already out yet? Why are they trying to get people hype about some shit that anyone who really wanted that game already bought it? Whatever.
That game's been out for a minute now.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty good. And Outriders, the RPG shooter from Painkiller Studio People Can Fly, is set to arrive in 2021. Other games on the way to Stadia include One Hand Clapping, a 2D puzzle platformer that will debut on Stadia in early access, the Superstar Wrestling game WWE 2K Battlegrounds, and PGA Tour 2K21. Stadia is also working with Harmonix, Uppercut Games, and Supermassive Games only on Stadia content, but those projects won't be revealed for a while yet. The selection of free games included with Stadia Pro is changing a bit. The Elder Scrolls Online is leaving July 16th, but Orcs Must Die 3 has been added.
I'm sorry, but I need to laugh hard because this is so much fail that it's...
So does anyone think that Stadia is going to make it? Does anyone think that Stadia is going to make it to?
If they can live to December 2021, it's going to be a round of applause. But oh God, I don't see that happening.
Kenoshi?
No, I don't know why they're trying so hard for ports and exclusive rights. I mean, it's Alphabet, so I guess it's just throw a bunch of money into it.
Yeah, but it's like they learned nothing from Microsoft. Throwing a whole bunch of money at shit without actually having, like you need games for your platform, dude.
So, I got a quick aside question. So does Google own Alphabet, or does Alphabet own Google? Is Alphabet...
Well, I mean, we can Google that. Does Google own Alphabet, or does Alphabet own Google?
It's likely Google owns an Alphabet.
I think Alphabet owns Google. Okay, so basically, Alphabet is a conglomerate that was created by the founders of Google that's basically going to take over Google. It hasn't become the parent of Google yet, but eventually it will. So at this point, it's like it's waiting in the wings.
Oh, okay.
It hasn't happened yet, but apparently it will at some point.
Yeah.
Ah.
But, I don't know. I think they'll throw a bunch of money at it for a couple more years, and if it completely flops, then I don't know. Maybe they'll just sell it. Maybe they'll just break it into parts and turn it into something else. Use all those server farms that they created for this and make something else. Yeah, 'cause that's the thing about Google is they'll have a bunch of ideas. They'll have they'll go through a bunch because Google has a great deal of failures in the past.
And they have a lot of money. They can like here's the thing. They can afford to fail. The problem is that their failure. Well, actually, there is no problem. It's just kind of funny seeing them fail so miserably. Never mind. I take that back.
It's like watching a good train wreck.
I wouldn't go that far. It's like when you see a puppy, right? And the puppy tries to jump, but it misses and falls on its face. Not enough for it to be painful, but just like, yeah, you ain't gonna make it. Oh, that's basically how it feels with Stadia.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. I'm like, well, you ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. I think it's just gonna be one of those. And the thing about Stadia is it's just a really expensive failure compared to their other stuff. Because these creating a server farm to stream games to people particularly isn't cheap.
Well, the thing is, they created a solution to something that wasn't a problem. Like you ever seen those infomercials where someone's like, have you ever tried to eat spaghetti out of a bowl? And they show someone trying to eat spaghetti out of a bowl, and they're just doing it the worst way possible, and it falls on the floor, and they have this look on their face like, oh, and then they come up with the pitch, which is something that you don't need, but they create a solution to something that's not a problem. That's basically what Google did. They were like, have you ever wanted to play your video games, but you don't want to buy a console? I mean, I'm sure there's someone that does that, but most people just, swallow their pride and go for it. Because, if you really want to play certain games, you're going to have to buy at least one console to play those games. Either Xbox or a Sony platform. Or you go game PC. If you're a casuals don't care. Casuals don't give a shit about consoles. They don't want to spend $10 a month to have access to games that they can also buy. Even the idea behind Stadia is stupid. Or actually, no, the idea is good. The implementation was stupid. But anything else you guys want to say about Stadia before we move on to Microsoft basically pulling down Stadia's pants and kicking them in the balls?
There's so many things I would like to say, but I think if anybody knows me, it's easy to say it. Stadia, you're drunk and you should head home on a cab.
Yeah. Stadia. Now we can move on to the next thing, which is what Microsoft did to Stadia. So Microsoft basically pulled down Stadia's pants and their underwear,
and gave them a swift kick right between the legs,
and then proceeded to take a good 10-pace backup, and then run forward and kick them in their to kick Stadia in its shriveled, sensitive balls. Because Microsoft announced this week that they will be adding xCloud, bundling it with Xbox Game Pass. So $15 a month, you get access to over 100 games, plus you'll be able to play your plus 100 plus games on Xbox Ultimate Game Pass on your PC, on your Xbox gaming device, on your tablet or your smartphone. Boom! So Microsoft said, when Microsoft said we're not competing against Sony or Nintendo, they aren't. They said we're going to kick Google in the nuts. And they did. They did.
The thing is, right, all of us here are now Microsoft fans, even though...
No, I hate Microsoft.
We all hate
Microsoft. One time I will be a Microsoft fan. Thank you for kicking Google Stadia and the orbs.
A couple of us have, gaming PCs was obviously Microsoft with Windows because, what else are you going to use to play What else are you going to use to play games? Mac?
No, Linux. Sorry, Linux. I game on Linux, son.
I mean, Linux has gotten better over the years, but
Yeah, it's. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. Once everything moved over from DOS onto Windows, the best way to game is Windows in the modern age. Like the first games, the first platform, the first PC architecture that hits most games is Windows. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but I know some people are gonna get mad about that. I mean, here's the thing: if you have a gaming PC that runs Windows, you essentially have an Xbox One.
yeah.
/ One X. It's like you already have Xbox's console. So even though I fucking hate Microsoft, I technically already have their gaming console.
Well, but the thing is, right? They're making moves that they're doing things that it's just gonna make the PlayStation, in my opinion, look slightly more less significant
Insecure?
to the majority of people.
Yeah. I mean, basically, not even that, but when you can pay $15 a month or $60 a year, I think $60 or $70 a year, have access to xCloud, all those games for like $15 a month or whatever it is. Let me see how much Ultimate Game Pass is for a year. Xbox Ultimate Game Pass.
If it's close to the price of a game that you can buy, that's a neat price.
So let me see how much the year subscription is.
If I'm wondering, that's $60.
For a year, it's $60.
I was saying that if it's $60 for 1 year, that's the price of an entire game, and that's not a bad price.
No, for 1 year, the Game Pass Ultimate is $120 for 1 year.
Yeah, still not
That's
terrible.
So for the price of two AAA $60 games, you will get access to hundreds of games on Xbox's Game Pass. Plus, you'll be able to play them on your smartphone, on your fucking console, on your PC, on your tablet. Basically, like I said, Microsoft just pulled down Stadia's pants and their underwear and kicked them in their small, shriveled, sensitive nuts.
As if Stadia didn't already have injuries.
Like,
That was another injury.
you think you cute, huh? And here's the thing. They did all of this while Phil Spencer got up and to people's face and said, "Oh, and don't expect any first-party games for the Xbox Series X for 2 years."
Yeah, this might be one of the times I like Xbox, though. They still kick themselves in the orbs because, well, where's your exclusive?
At this point, I don't even think they need exclusives. Because here's the thing, okay? If you literally can pay $120 and have access to hundreds of games across multiple platforms, new shit and old shit, and from the way it sounds, you can just buy those games on you can buy those games digitally and play them through xCloud. So you don't even need the console.
Yeah.
Jesus. Fuck.
Yeah.
Microsoft just outplayed Stadia.
Yeah.
That I could agree on so much.
Stadia out there playing checkers. Microsoft's like, "Nah, motherfucker, I'm playing chess." My pawn just went to your back line. I need to switch that out for the other piece, bitch. And like I said, I fucking hate Microsoft. I don't like them as a company, but Jesus, they fucking up. They fucking up.
They kicked Stadia right in the oars when it was already
Yeah.
injured.
And here's the thing: all of this is so that they can basically get XCloud into people's houses. That's all this is for. This is all so that they can get XCloud into people's houses. They don't give a fuck about gaming. They want to get XCloud into people's houses.
Thankfully, I can say that so far they haven't gotten into my house, but I could say, at least I could say they have done their job.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you own a Windows? Do you own a system that has Windows on it?
There's at least two PCs that are Windows operating.
Then they're in your house. They're already there. Are they connected to the internet?
One is, one isn't.
They're already there. you thought you got away? No, you didn't get away. This is like when your parents are beating your ass and you think it's over. It's not over. It's not over. Your parents say when you get home, I'm gonna beat your ass. You get home early and try to go to bed, skip dinner, and try to get in bed and go to sleep. Your parents like, get your ass up. I told you I was gonna beat your ass. That's basically you can't escape. You can't escape the XCloud. You can't escape the XCloud.
Oh boy.
So, I mean, listen, like I said, I fucking hate Microsoft as a video game company. And I don't really like their OSs. But and as far as business goes, they really turned their shit around once they stopped trying to compete against Nintendo and Sony in their video game division. And they're glomming onto something that they actually spent the time researching and developing, which is their cloud-based platform. So kudos to them.
Now, if only they could do other things to run successfully. Hangouts.
What, Microsoft or Google?
I thought those two are one and the same, but Microsoft in this case.
No, Microsoft already has a Hangout equivalent. It's called Skype. I mean, the only reason I don't like Skype is because I just don't like spending a lot of money on the shit. I'm cheap. Like, if you want to get the premium version of Skype, you got to spend like $5 a month, and I'm not paying that for just to talk to someone.
You're not paying the full game system to upgrade your communication systems.
No, I just don't feel like spending a lot of money on it. Because I'm cheap. And I recognize that I'm a cheap bastard. And I'm okay with that. Some people get mad. They're like, "How dare you?" I'm cheap.
For me, it depends on the product.
Like if I can buy something for cheaper than retail price, legitimately, I'm so happy. When I find a good deal like that, I'm like, man, it's great.
At least I won't be surprised if I find you with coupons in your hand.
I don't use coupons more often than not. Because these days, all the coupons are digital. But, yeah. So, I guess we can move on to the next little bit of news. Netflix. Anyone here watch that Castlevania?
I take a peek at it every now and then to see how much of a train wreck it is. Though something tells me there's another gaming anime coming up.
There is. Well, Netflix said since the Castlevania anime was such a hit, they're like, well, shit. Why don't we try to make an anime based on another video game property? So they're doing Dragon's Dogma, and it's coming out in September. Hopefully, it won't be as cheap looking as that first season of. It won't be as cheap looking as that first season of Castlevania. Because that first season of Castlevania was shit.
Yeah, maybe they'll put a little more money behind it.
I mean, it was like skipping animation. It just looked bad, man. And I'm an RPG fan, but it just looked bad.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, for those of you who don't know, Dragon's Dogma it's basically Capcom's take on D&D, like a D&D video game, kind of, sort of. It's got a lot of D&D enemies in it, like beholders and wyverns and shit like that. It's actually pretty good. I mean, it's not my favorite game, but it's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than it. I mean, like, here's the thing, okay? If you go into Dragon's Dogma thinking it's gonna be like a Witcher 3, you're sorely mistaken. Graphically, it's kind of ugly, and the engine it uses is the Monster Hunter engine. But the cool thing about Dragon's Dogma is that you can grab and climb some of the larger monsters in the game. So, like, you can basically, like, climb a Hydra to one of its heads and just attack that one head until you knock it off. Or you can, like, jump in the air and grab a fucking Cyclops and crawl on its head to where its eye is and attack its eye until you blind it. So, I mean, it's kind of got a lot of tactical shit going on. So I like that. But, you know, that's just me. So yeah, I think Dragon's Dogma, I mean, you know, it depends on what they're doing in the TV show, in the anime. It could be awesome, it could be shit, I don't know. It's one of those, it could go either ways type things. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I think it's just, well, I never saw the Castlevania stuff, but I think
I'll brace for it.
yeah.
It could be good, it could be terrible, who knows?
Yeah, hopefully, like I said, hopefully they put a little more money behind it, I guess.
Yeah, I hope so too. Cause I mean the first season, okay, the first season of Castlevania was pretty rough. I mean, it was pretty bad. I hope season 2 is season 2 got better, and season 3 is on its way. So, you know, it could get better. I don't know, but
Yeah, but I mean, it was kind of a proof of concept, so it's like, well, we don't know how well this is gonna do, so we're not gonna put a ton of money behind it. Believe it or not, Netflix I don't think makes a ton of money.
Well,
For as much money as you think they do.
they have a lot of money, but the thing is, a lot of their money is tied up in other shit. Which I guess is a good or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
You know, as believe it or not, as Netflix loses more licenses, that means they can put more of their money towards original programming. So that's actually a good thing.
I consider getting original programming a bit of a double-edged sword because you're going in fresh, and yet you're supporting yourself.
I mean, if the original programming is good, I mean, like, okay, I'll give you guys an example of a television station that basically made their bones on their original programming. HBO.
Yeah, I get you there. I was just saying that there's risk and reward for trying to go originals only. I'm not sure how much it'll work, but I could give them credit there.
It's like people forgot that HBO. It's like everyone forgot that like HBO like made their bones off of The Sopranos and The Wire, and HBO's Def Comedy Jam and stuff like that. Like original programming really made HBO and Game of Thrones. Like original programming can really make a platform pop. So especially if it's good original programming. So I really do think that as Netflix loses more licenses, as for legacy content from other platforms, and as they keep rolling along, if they can keep their shit together and start making some good first party stuff, some exclusive stuff that they made themselves, it could work. It could totally work. But I could be wrong, because I'm just some guy. What are your thoughts, Kenoshi?
That's pretty much it.
All right. So I guess we can move on to our final topic, which is unpopular opinions. Because everyone has an opinion, some of which are unpopular. An unpopular opinion, everyone has 30 seconds to state an unpopular opinion and defend it, and then we get to come in with our rebuttals, and they can rebut our rebuttal. So, who wants to go first?
I think I could try one.
All right, go ahead.
It's probably a weird unpopular opinion, but then again, I consider some fighting games to be more. I consider fighting games to be more button mashing in a sense than what people actually are saying that it is a tactical game of footsies. I mean, with all these methods of making things easier for the fighting game community, it kind of is getting to the point that, well, every time you press a button, you do at least 3 hits, and well, you can do more and more and more until time runs out.
It depends on the game. If you're talking about Street Fighter,
I was talking about some of the more basic 2D fighting games.
Yeah, if you're talking about Street Fighter, if you want to get into Street Fighter, you can button mash. But if you're playing someone who's good at Street Fighter, button mashing is a quick way to get your ass kicked. So it just depends on the skill level of the people playing. If everyone is kind of low skill, button mashing, it's just fun. But if you're playing people who are highly skilled, you're gonna get your ass kicked. So,
I'm saying as in going from entry levels, as in going from fresh newbie to getting into getting into fights. It's seeming like it's getting into button mashing from all the way until you reach your first human opponent, and then
I mean, it depends. I mean, are you talking about versus a human opponent or AI?
it's. I was saying that I'm saying as in learning from computer opponents learn from computer opponents and then going into human opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the game. It's a case by case basis. Kenoshi, your thoughts on it since you play a lot of 2D fighters?
So what was the problem again?
Well,
Exactly?
her unpopular
saying
opinion
that-
is that most 2D fighters aren't strategic; they're just button mashers.
Yeah, as in
right.
they're getting as in from going from computer players to human players. It's basically a button masher until then.
I disagree. When you're playing online against people that can tell that you're just mashing buttons, who have played the game enough, that's you're gonna get your ass into pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was saying that in a sense, from going from computer opponents to human opponents, you basically could easily button mash and not get any real training info when you're fighting a human opponent.
And sometimes the computer opponents can be ridiculous, especially in those older fighting games
Especially the bosses, that are cheap, like Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn, Idol, Gargle.
like an M Bison, with that jump move he has.
I mean, M. Bison, like, here's the thing. M. Bison seems hard if you try to play like you're playing against a really high-level human opponent. If you just rush him, he's actually relatively easy, even on higher difficulties.
Not to mention a lot of the difficulties are, especially in the old Street Fighter 2 games, that I beat Street Fighter 2 on the hardest difficulty. The encounters are inconsistent too. Some encounters are easier, and some encounters are just like, what the heck?
yeah. It just depends on. It depends on. Like I said, it depends on. It's a case by case. Like Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct. Like, you cannot button mash in Killer Instinct because the way the combos work, if you tried to button mash, you get your ass kicked. Even against the computer, you can't button mash. So it depends. It depends on the game. But I agree that some games are more button mash. 2D fighters are more button mashy and button mash heavy and less strategy involved with it than.
Yeah, at least you can understand what I'm getting at. That the computer opponents in fighting games are starting to become so much more easier that they're not preparing you for the human opponents.
All right.
I mean, yeah, I would say that in possibly in modern, more recent fighting games, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Okay then. So, do you have an unpopular opinion, Kenoshi? You said earlier you had an unpopular opinion. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really, this is the first generation I'm not particularly excited for, because I don't really care, because I have enough games to play as it is. I have a backlog of games. I'm gonna get a PS4 next month, so I'm gonna have a library of games to choose from on that. So it's just like, next gen, it can wait, at least for me.
Okay.
I agree with you on that. That so far the next generation hasn't been thrilling to me, as in pulling me in.
Well, I'm gonna say something right now that's an addendum to your unpopular opinion. I don't know about next gen, but current gen has been unfulfilling to me. Like, I really don't give a shit about. Like, I haven't really enjoyed my 9th gen console. I haven't like been a quiver. There's been like 2 games on the Switch that I've really enjoyed, and one of them was a port. So, actually, technically, both of them were ports. So, yeah, I feel kind of bad about it, but that's not my problem. Like Reggie said, not my problem. I mean, it's your problem as the person making the product to entice me to be excited about it, because that's part of sales. If you can't do that, it's on you. So, I know some people are gonna get mad by that, but I don't care.
To be honest with you, I wonder.
I don't know. It's just I just haven't I'm not really I mean but even then I'm not really excited about most next gen games coming to other consoles either. Like the only next quote unquote next gen game I'm kind of excited about is Cyberpunk 2077, and that's a cross gen game. Like really, all the next gen games coming to other platforms are cross gen games because they were they probably started life on another platform. So even then, I'm not really like, oh my god, this is so exciting. I'm like, it's okay.
And people are going to be crying about the graphics and whatnot, and it's just kind of like, well, these are going to, we're going to be in a cross-gen sort of phase for a little.
For the next 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. Just because these companies aren't making nearly as much money as you think they are. And they want to keep supporting the old consoles because those older consoles still have an audience. Because
I mean, what?
Don't go out and buy a new console.
I mean, let's keep it real.
First year it comes out.
I mean, well, let's keep it real. The PS4 is sitting at over 100 million units install base.
Yeah.
And that's what they say. Let's say really it's like 85. Okay, let's say 80. Let's take 15 million off. Just say 85. 85 million. The Xbox Series X is sitting at like maybe 40. The Switch is sitting at 60, maybe 70 at this point. Let's say like 55. 55. I mean, that's a huge install base of quote unquote. And I know people are gonna say the Switch is next gen, but I mean, is it really? It's 3 years old at this point. It's not really like brand spanking new out the gate.
No, yeah, I mean, Nintendo just for the longest time has been doing their own thing.
Yeah, so we can't really compare them to other people. So, but I mean, basically, I mean, like I said, I mean, I had Paper Mario Origami King crash on me. So like I don't know if that's the hardware or coding, but if it's the hardware, damn. But enough out of that. So with that being said, I mean, like I'm just not really excited. Like you have to think most of the games that are going to come out next year and the year after that started life for the current consoles, the Xbox Series, the Xbox One, and the PS4. So they're all cross-gen. I mean, if you look at the games that Ubisoft showed, those games did not look quote-unquote next-gen. They looked like they were running at lower specifications. That engine is starting to look kind of creaky. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know where to go from there. Anyone have anything else they want to say before I get to my unpopular opinion?
I thought you already hit your unpopular opinion.
No, I didn't. No, I have two unpopular opinions. One is about games, and the other one is about and the other one is about popular culture. So I'll get to games first. My unpopular opinion about gaming is that I think at some point we all have to recognize that even some of our favorite franchises will never be as good as they were back in the day. I kind of have accepted that with Final Fantasy. It's never going to be as good as it was back in the day. Dragon Quest, I don't think is ever going to be as good as it was back in the day. We just got to kind of accept that these games are just always going to be kind of like, not as good as they were back in the day, which is sad because, I think you should always strive to be better than you were before, but we're not getting that with a lot of these franchises.
I think these creators should be able to go out and do their own thing rather than keep working on a franchise forever. You see that with a lot of TV shows and stuff. They try to churn out as many seasons of a particular show.
Well, I mean, there comes a certain point where the show has basically, every story that needs to be told has been told. It doesn't need to be told again.
Yeah.
Like the story has reached its conclusion, and to push it and to prolong it any further is just prolonging the inevitable. Now, some shows can go a long time in terms of seasons, but not, after a while, it's like, come on, get to the point. I think a lot of cartoons could go longer. Like, I think Batman the Animated Series could have had more seasons than the 5 it had. I think Batman Beyond could have had more seasons. I think Spider-Man the Animated Series. But a cartoon is different than, like, a live-action show.
Yeah.
But that's just to me. So with that being said, anyone have any rebuttals about my unpopular opinion? Anyone have anything they want to be like, well, that's not cool. No, I can take it. Go ahead.
To be honest with you, it's a little tricky to word it on that point. So
yeah,
anything
I pretty much agree because I just see a lot of things that just keep going and going and going, and they just should have stopped at their peak. And it's like, they should have retired the jersey when they were at their highest point. But it's a tricky thing to figure out.
It's like Pokemon. It's like Pokemon.
That's the reason why I say yeah, sadly. For me, I actually would say your mileage might vary dependent on the series.
Well, I think Pokemon hit its pinnacle for me at this Gen 6, which is X and Y. Like that was the last time I really enjoyed a Pokemon game, and after that it was just kind of like I don't give a fuck anymore. Like Sun and Moon, I didn't give a shit about. The remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, I didn't give a shit about. I bought Alpha Sapphire, or was it Alpha Ruby? One of the two. And I was like, this is not very good. And then I was really like, no, the game itself was solid, but then you get to the end where instead of you having, I'm like, well, okay, like once I get through this, I can go to the Battle Frontier and continue fighting and like have like different conditions. No Battle Frontier, they just have this fucking battle chateau where you just fight random people and you don't even get fucking experience for fighting. So it's like, for real, bruh? No fucking way. So, yeah. I think at some point you just gotta let shit go. My other unpopular opinion, and this is about pop culture. The reason I had this is because recently that shit came out about J.K. Rowling, where she was like saying some shit against transgender people. But this isn't about J.K. Rowling and her socio-political beliefs. This is about Harry Potter. And I know some people are going to get mad because some people really like Harry Potter. Harry Potter was never that good of a series, okay? if you read other fantasy novels, Harry Potter isn't even a good fantasy novel. As far as J.K. Rowling's magic system in her books, it's trash.
Oh, it makes no sense. You know, I enjoy the
I was
Harry
gonna
Potter
say the
series.
joke.
I've read through the series twice, and you know, but it has some serious problems. You know, there's some, not just in the magic system, but how she tells the story. I mean,
I
as
was gonna
much as
say
I
the
do like the series, it has
magic
some
system
serious
is
faults.
make me say a wizard did it all the time.
Also,
Like
her
there's really no reason for, like, the way this world is set up. I just feel like there's really no reason for wizards to exist.
not
Only,
even
only for the fact that they just exist because, well,
she
the
wanted to tell a
story.
story about magic users and she chose wizards. But here's the
Yeah,
thing:
they just need to exist.
her magic, her how she describes magic is so stupid, and her magic users, by and large, like basically most magic users in the Harry Potter universe are fucking mediocre magic users. You got a few people who are really powerful. Most of them are either eccentric or evil.
Man, my problem is there's a lot of missed opportunities with the with magic, like technology, and
Yeah, she does.
the relying too heavily on wands, like the
And
stupidest
and
thing
magic
ever.
MacGuffins and magic
Yeah,
MacGuffins. She
yeah.
loves magic MacGuffins.
The fourth book bothers me a lot because there's this one one scene where Harry is telling Ron and Hermione, or Ron and no Harry and Hermione are telling Ron about how cameras work, or how some specific technology works, because there's this woman named Rita Skeeter who is going around. You know, she was essentially writing for a tabloid, and or writing tabloid articles. So essentially, what happens is, you know, they were contemplating whether she had like microphones or can't. You know, it's like, and Hermione's like, no, that's not possible. There's too much magic. That would make, you know, that stuff go haywire. It's like, well, there's a missed opportunity, mixing magic with technology. Oh, well, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, we ain't got time for
And there's also the
that.
and there's and there's also the amnesia problem of the series has. If you didn't catch it with the, it happens through the first first through the third book, and then after that she somewhat references the books prior. Like, it seemed like everything that happened in the book, in the next book, it really doesn't matter. Like it just like it just it didn't make that much of an impact on, you know, the Harry's environment at Hogwarts. Like the
You
second
mean
book,
there's a complete lack of character growth? Like the
yeah,
Dursleys always treat him like shit even when he saves their lives, and they know he saved their lives. Like, ah, fuck that kid. It's like, really? You can't throw him a
yeah,
bone after he saved your ass? Nah, fuck him. Okay, alright.
and it's the same too with at school, because there's not much character growth. There's not much world growth when you know, when Harry, Hermione, and Ron save the day, like in the first book, and even in the second book. In the second book, I just felt like that whole end sequence was rushed. Like, I remember Dumbledore talking to Harry and Ron saying, you know, you guys did this and did that. Like, it's just kind of brushed over, and I just felt like, well, you know, fighting the basilisk really didn't matter. You know,
Well,
like, it's kind of
here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say about Harry Potter, and this is one of my minor gripes about the thing. Who am I the only one who thought that Harry and Hermione should have hooked up?
no, yeah, I believe that too. It would have made more sense.
Like, that would have made
Would have
some.
made more
Because
sense.
here's the thing: Ginny Weasley had this star fucker thing going on with Harry Potter. Hermione was perfect for Harry because she called him on his shit.
Yeah,
She was the
yeah,
perfect foil.
Yeah.
She's like, you're full of shit. And here's the thing: every good man needs someone to tell them when they're full of shit.
and the thing is, the only character, in my, you know, from what I read, that has a huge like growth, a huge turning point is
Neville. Yeah,
Neville
Neville.
Longbottom.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on here? So you have, your three main characters that don't necessarily grow all that much, and then you have, Neville Longbottom. That
What?
actually
No,
looks
no, that's not
he's
true.
like
Neville and Snape.
yeah, Neville and Snape. Yeah, that's a good point. But Neville's kind of like the Rock Lee of the Harry Potter.
No, because Rock Lee, even when he's kind of lame, is still cool. Neville is kind of like he's the Gohan. Like when you first meet Gohan, it's like this bitch, and then he becomes like by a certain point he becomes really badass, and that's when they should have ended it. But it's Dragon Ball Z, so they can't do that.
Yeah, but Neville was the one that Neville out of the kids at least had a turning point as well as Snape. I mean, there is some inklings of brilliance in the Harry Potter series, why I don't necessarily completely throw it out, but there are some glaring flaws in that series that you just can't ignore. It's like
That is true.
you can't defend.
And for me, the nail in the coffin for J.K. Rowling being a good fantasy writer. Now, here's the thing: she writes some interesting characters. For example, one of my favorite characters in her Harry Potter series, side characters, is Professor Lupin.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool character. It's a shame that they kind of shuffle him off at the end of the school year because he's a werewolf, but still pretty badass. But the rest of it is just kind of like, whatever. My other overrated character, overrated author of fantasy that I think gets way too much credit, J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm gonna say it right now. As someone who's read all 4 of his books and the Silmarillion, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings trilogy, they're shit. They're all fucking shit.
I've never read the books. I just heard there's too much unnecessary detail in those books.
No, there's detail in them. There's necessary detail in them. It's just the problem with Tolkien is that Tolkien gets up his own ass about his world building.
Oh.
He gets so far up his own ass that it just kind of...
Yeah, Lord of the Rings seems like one of those things that you can either take or leave. It seems like, I've met people who really like Lord of the Rings, and then you meet people who just don't want anything to do with it.
I mean, here's the thing. Lord of the Rings is the foundation of modern fantasy literature. So, because of Lord of the Rings, we got Discworld and, other fantastic, pun intended, fantasy books. But Lord of the Rings itself is shit.
That's kind of how I feel about Lovecraft. Like, he's the foundation of a lot of modern horror, but
oh yeah, well,
boring.
The books are actually pretty good.
It's to me it's somewhat boring, but with really good ideas.
Yeah, for me, I enjoy the books. It's just you got to get past the racism, and that's for a lot of people. That's like I can't get past this racist fucker. That's the thing for a lot of people that kind of breaks it for them. Sci-fi doesn't have that problem, in my opinion, because you can read early sci-fi, like Around the World in 80 Days, or Journey to the Center of the Earth, or Fantastic Journey, or Mysterious Island by Jules Verne, and those are in H.G. Wells, and those are The Time Machine. Those are good books. The Invisible Man. Those are good books. Or even Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's a good book, and it's science fiction. But you read Lord of the Rings, and it's like this is. There's only one good book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that's The Two Towers. And the only reason that's good is because it has the part where the Ents attack Saruman's tower. And that's just hilarious, the idea of tree people attacking a tower. That's awesome. The trees strike back. That's awesome. That's some Captain Planet shit right there. But aside from that, basically what I'm saying is this. A lot of the, basically once a fantasy author becomes mainstream, I find or their work is geared towards a more mainstream audience, I find their books to be meh. Like Harry Potter is widely considered to be this kid-friendly, at least the first books, because they were made for that age thing. But as far as fantasy goes, they're not very good. I could think of better books to be read than Harry Potter. I mean, there's
the dragons are like stupid guard dogs in the bank. I remember.
When she basically, for me, when I said fuck J.K. Rowling, was when she had dragons that were these stupid. They were just animals. Like anyone who knows anything about fantasy books knows that dragons are like upper tier, upper echelon, not to be fucked with creatures. And she's got them being fucking dogs that breathe fire.
I mean, if you have an inkling of, knowledge of at least the lore of dragons or the mythology of dragons, they usually are pretty
badass
creatures.
Yeah. Not Harry Potter's dragons. They have names like Norbert. But anyway, that was the moment where I was like, well, fuck J.K. Rowling. So that's my, those are my two unpopular opinions. Anyone have anything else they want to add before we wrap things up with this podcast? Anything they want to pimp out, show out, recommend? Anything?
I would, but I'll save it for Wednesday.
All right.
I've been following, saw a video today. This is more of computer talk, but I saw a video today. Linus Tech was talking about Intel and their unwillingness to what they've been doing over the years is cutting out things in mainstream CPUs and putting them, holding them hostage for more enthusiast grade CPUs and doing weird things with the RAM, like I guess because you have the Z brand motherboards that allow for overclocking, and then the brands under that, the B versions, which are the that's the more mainstream consumer friendly boards, at least as it pertains to budget. And they've been limiting RAM speed. So if you buy a fast RAM for that motherboard, you might for like a B450 or something like that. I guess the motherboard limits the amount that the RAM can run, and it's. I was listening to that video, and it was interesting. It was interesting to, see them pull these weird tactics. It made me wonder, with AMD doing pretty good, and a lot of people, switching to the Ryzen platform. I wonder if it's just, was Intel really that great, or was it just because AMD was messing up so bad with their bulldozer lineup?
I think it was a combination of both. I do think that Intel still makes, if you get a top-end Intel CPU and a board that's built for that CPU, that's still a really good. It's going to be a good setup. The problem is that Intel has gotten, Intel for so long had the lead that they got lazy and they thought we could do whatever the hell we want and no one's going to say anything to us about it.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want and no one's going to say anything. And if you don't like it, F you is basically what they were trying to say. And I know some people are going to get mad about that. They're going to be like, "How dare you say that?" But that's what I think. I do think Intel's not going to slip, going to let the market slip completely out their grasp, because still in the grand scheme of things, Intel still holds like 70%, like 75% of the market.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that competition is good because it's going to force them to make some changes, which they've been doing. So, like this is like, here's the thing. I'm not against competition. Competition is good. Like some of the best games we ever got as gamers was during the 16-bit wars between Nintendo and Sega.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I this is why I say I agree with you, though. If anything, there is such a thing as bad competition.
Oh yeah, there's bad competition where
where
you have the shit like Microsoft money hatting games, and the games aren't necessarily better than anything else. But good competition is when you use what you have to the best of your ability to showcase why you should make the case to have that, whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
like okay, like basically the reason Crash Bandicoot exists is because Sony was like, we need something that's going to compete against Donkey Kong Country. Now, in my opinion, Crash Bandicoot will never be close to as well designed as Donkey Kong Country. Never will. Never. Not even the same room. Okay. Not even on the same street. Not even on the same continent. Okay. But
Oh,
that game is there. People enjoy that fucking game. So, um, basically what I'm saying is this. I think that people need to recognize people need to recognize that competition is a good thing. It'll make Intel play better. Microsoft attempting to kick Stadia in the nuts with their xCloud is going to make Google either nut up and do some and make some good moves if they really want it to be a viable platform, or bow out and stop giving people this bullshit. So either way, it's going to make them do something. I mean, that's the kind of thing that's the one thing where I'm kind of like, I wish Nintendo was more competitive with other companies, because then they'd actually try and do some cool shit instead of just like getting kind of resting on their laurels sometimes.
experimental.
Yeah.
No, sometimes they rest on their laurels. It's not experimental. They're like, well, we don't have to do anything that we don't have to do anything that might piss people off, because we don't have to take any chances, because like, how Nintendo got kind of complacent at the end of the Wii,
Yeah.
or how Sony got complacent at the end of the PS2.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it when a company gets complacent, because then they start fucking up. And I'm kind of worried that Nintendo's going to get a little complacent with the Switch. Because
the thing is, going back to Intel real quick, apparently Apple pulled out of using Intel and switching to ARM because of their security. I guess one of the reasons is because of their security issues. Not to mention the heat. There's beginning to have a huge problem with heat, which is kind of funny because that used to be AMD's problem.
I gotta disagree. I think the only reason Apple is switching to their own custom architecture, is so that they can keep their costs in house and charge and make more money per unit sold. Because every time they use someone else's components, they got to give a cut of what they make off of that to those other people. Like, if they use screens from Samsung, made by Samsung, they got to give a cut to Samsung. But if they keep everything in house, they can, the money comes back to them. This shit's about money. It has nothing to do with. They're like, well, Intel had heat problems. 75% of the market's using Intel, and they ain't having those types of problems. So what's going on here, son?
Although, it can't be argued that that the MacBook Pros specifically were are kind of they have flaws in their design. Like,
Yeah.
how are you gonna put How are you gonna put an i9 processor
And something that thin
Yeah.
and that small, drawing that type of power, that's not well ventilated. Because I've seen Macs. Like Mac is an overrated product.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people. I love Mac. Look, they're overrated. Okay, you're paying out the nose for some shit that's not worth it. And I know some people are gonna get mad. They're gonna be like, "How could you say that?" Look, I understand where you're coming from, but hear me out, okay? Mac products suck. There you go. I know some people are gonna get mad at me when I say that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think that I think it'll balance out eventually.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I definitely agree. I think Nintendo might end up resting on their laurels when it comes to the Switch.
They'll be like, "Oh, we don't have to do anything new. Man, we don't have to come up with new hardware. Shit, what the fuck's wrong with you? We'll just make a slightly more powerful Switch that hopefully won't crash when it's running first-party games." How the fuck are you? Never mind. That's a podcast for another day. So with that being said, that's in this video. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. If you would like to get in touch with the channel, you can reach me at MrRedFoxBSBuster@gmail.com or at Matthew Wesley at MrRedFox91. There is a link in the Discord in the chat. So with that being said, that's in this video. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Peace and good night.
And
So